Auburn associate head coach Stephen Pearl with us now. He joins us each week. What is up, Coach? How are you today?
What's up, fellas? How we doing?
Doing good. Coming off that breather against Tennessee. Nice to get an easy win, right?
That was people talk about rock fights and fist fights. That was the definition of it right there.
Yeah, it was. We were talking about this the other day. I mean, the officials allowed it to be played at a very physical style of basketball. Is that something like, as coaches, when you see it, or you're like, hey, try to match their physicality, or is it just natural that your team is going to do it as long as the refs don't blow the whistle?
Yeah, no, we prefer it that way, just because that's kind of our brand of basketball, especially defensively. You know, if the officials are going to let us play, we think that benefits us. So we try and tell our guys, like, don't complain to the officials for ticky-tack fouls, because all that's going to do is have them do the exact same thing on the other end of the floor, which is what we want to try to avoid. So, we told the coordinator officials, we understand that was an incredibly difficult game to officiate, and I'm sure you get on Twitter and both fan bases are bitching about the refs, and I'm like, those guys have an impossible job when they're night in, night out in the SEC. This is the toughest conference in America to officiate because of, one, the level of athletes and the pace of play, but now you got, a bunch of ridiculously talented guys on each team to match that, physicality and that athleticism. So just a really hard job for those guys, and I thought they did a really good job. And, it was definitely one of the most physical games that we coached in 11 years since we've been here. So, hats off to Tennessee. They came in and the environment didn't overwhelm them, and, they grinded it out and, kept it as close as they possibly could for 40 minutes.
When we had you on last week, you were talking about Jahki Ziegler, and you were like, this guy had eligibility back when I was playing. And listening to the broadcast on Saturday night, Billis brought up the fact if there was an all-respect team, Ziegler would be one of those guys that would be on that team. I mean, he does everything. Shots weren't necessarily going down, but, man, I mean, when you talk about an all-respect guy, Ziegler is one of those guys.
Yeah, no, Barnes talks about it pretty openly in a lot of his press conferences, saying that he probably wouldn't be doing this anymore if it wasn't for Jahki Ziegler. So that's an incredibly, that's high praise right there, for a coach to say that I'm still doing this because of one specific player. Just tells you everything you need to know about him as a player, as a teammate, as a young man. So, he played really well for them, and he was probably their most effective offense. And, we talked about before the game, if he shoots 15 shots, we feel like we'll win the game, because you want him to be more aggressive offensively shooting the ball instead of being able to facilitate to the guys on the floor, because he's the one guy that can create his own shot, but he does such a great job of creating shots for others. So I thought our guys, for the first time all season, we locked in defensively for 40 minutes, and that was probably one of our best, if not our best, defensive effort, against a team that was, they were top 15 in the country in offensive efficiency, and, to hold them to the point total that we did, and they didn't hit their first three until late in the second half. I thought our guys did a good job of locking into the scouting report and kind of honing in on what we needed to do to be successful. And, for our defense to not be dictated by our offensive performance, that's growth. And that's something that teams in the past wouldn't have done. They would have seen that, that our guards were 0 for 19 in the first half from the field, and they would have stopped guarding because they were upset that their offense wasn't going. Not on Saturday night. Our guys just stayed locked in, and we knew that eventually a shot or two was going to fall. It was as long as we continued to defend, and I thought we did a pretty good job of that.
I love interviews where I learn something. So you just told me something I did not, like if somebody had said Auburn prefers it to be played the way it was played the other night, I would have said that's insane because they can play a multitude of different ways. Why would they want it to be that way? So I learned something there. Tell me something about a shooter like Miles Kelly when the shots aren't falling. You were a shooter, not as good as Miles, but you were a shooter. How do you have the confidence to hit that shot he hit in the corner when nothing was dropping on a night like that? How do you have that confidence? Why did he make that shot?
I would honestly say, like, we were in the first half, like, after every shot, we were like, damn, that was a good look. That was a good look. And eventually I'm like, well, it would be nice if one of these good looks started to fall in. But we felt good about the looks that we were getting. And then to go back and watch the film, like, we got a lot of really clean looks in the first half. We just didn't make them. Those are shots we typically have made this season, which is why our offensive numbers have been the way they were. So I think the fact that, Miles had gotten a couple clean looks in the first half, on top of the fact that Miles is one of the hardest workers in all of college basketball, he just has the ultimate confidence that every shot he takes is going in. And that's something that'll never waver with Miles. That's what makes Miles so special. And guys like Tahad and Denver and, Chad Baker, like those guys are all the same way. Like every shot that goes up, regardless of if they've missed, 10, we've given them the green light and the confidence to continue to shoot those shots. And I think, all great shooters have that mentality that regardless of, how many you've missed, the next one's going in. So I think Miles, obviously he got one off with I want to say 6 or 7 minutes at the top of the key where he hit one. That obviously was great for him to see it go in. And then as soon as Johni, not enough being talked about Johni's, wherewithal and awareness to, after his shot gets blocked, catch it, 2 hands as he's falling out of bounds, find Miles in the corner, which is where we always tell guys to be on penetration. Miles is in the right spot at the right time. Johni hits a on-time, on-target pass. They have a guy flying at Miles to contest the shot, and Miles just bangs the shot. But I think, a combination of the amount of hours and time spent in the gym, in addition to, feeling like we had really good looks. And in the huddles, we would tell the guys, listen, we're getting great looks. Keep running our offense. Keep doing what we're doing. The shots are going to fall eventually. And sure enough, 1 or 2 did late down the stretch.
Stephen Pearl is with us, the associate head coach at Auburn. As a coach, from a coaching perspective, you mentioned the way the game was officiated. When you see the opposing coach throw a water bottle and it explodes and they have to stop the game and wipe it up and he doesn't get a technical, do you file that one away too and be like, okay, if that's not going to draw a tech, yeah.
Yeah, you would think so. But, I think just the time and situation of the game, the referees use their discretion to not make it about the officials and let it more be about the game. And, I think that's just good awareness and understanding by those officials to kind of let that one slide, because it was a very high intensity game, a very high stakes game. Yeah, in most cases that's a technical foul, but Coach Barnes is one of the best coaches in the country. He's earned an amount of respect that he can get away with something like that potentially. So wasn't surprising that they didn't hit him on that, but yeah, that just kind of shows you, for a guy that's pretty mild mannered and pretty composed in all situations, for him to obviously slam the water bottle, that just shows you how intense that game was for 40 minutes.
We've talked a lot about the emotion and the intensity of the game. There was a situation I know you guys don't want with Jahki Howard where the emotion kind of boiled over and he had to be sent to the locker room. What has been his response to that? What have you seen out of him since?
Yeah, we talked about in the locker room yesterday, what can we be better at, and we went through the whole room, talked to every single guy, and, guys talked about communication on defense. Guys talked about, boxing out to not allow offensive rebounds. Coaches talked about getting on to the next play quicker. And, Jahki talked about being a better teammate and handling his emotions. So to have the awareness to see that, he needs to get better in those situations, it's just part of what we deal with as coaches. That's part of growing, and that's part of, getting better. It happens on the floor. It happens off the floor, as we've seen, with parents. It's just there's a lot that goes into our day to day, and it's the players' jobs to obviously want to have the best out of their performance. It's the parents' jobs to love their kids and motivate their kids and be there and be a parent for their kids. And it's our jobs as coaches to try and get the best out of them and teach them important lessons. And I think, while Jahki is an incredibly talented young man, it's a process where we're trying to grow together and help him, obviously get better and obviously on the floor and even in the mental side of things. So it's just another learning experience. And, I think Jahki has been accountable for it. And, he's obviously ready to grow and get better from it.
I know you guys were excited about getting Broome back on the court. I would assume you didn't see 33 minutes coming. With that said, they talked about his PT over the last couple of weeks and how involved and in-depth it was. Can you kind of go through that schedule as much as you know? I mean, it seemed like they were talking he was doing like 12 to 14 hours a day of physical therapy.
Yeah, he was in there from the time, Clark and Amber walked in to the time they left, and then he was doing stuff on his own at home for 2 straight weeks. So obviously, the attention to detail, the dedication that he showed to obviously get right and get ready was obviously really impressive. Like the day that Auburn had a bunch of snow, the university was closed down, and he was calling us being like, where is everyone? How can Amber and Clark get in here? I'm like, Johni, the roads are completely iced over. Like, give it a couple hours so they can come in and see you. Like it was to that point where it didn't matter what the circumstance was. Johni wanted to find a way to get back for this game, and he practiced to a certain extent on Thursday and Friday leading up to the game, and obviously on Saturday he was moving differently than he was the 2 days prior. So it looked like he was as close to he wasn't 100%. He was probably 90% in that game. And you can kind of tell in certain situations he wasn't as, explosive or as strong off that foot. But he had done an unbelievable job up to that point, and then the swelling wasn't nearly as bad as you would think it would have been on Sunday. So, just credit to him, credit to our training staff, credit to our strength and conditioning staff. They just did such a great job of just locking in with him. But for the kid to dedicate, the most time of anyone to try and get back just speaks to his selflessness and the fact that he wants to be out there with his teammates and trying to continue to build on what we have going right now.
I got two real quickly, but Auburn at LSU tomorrow night. Is there a chance he'll rest in that game, or is he a full go?
No, Johni's he's planning on playing. He's a full go.
Okay.
Practiced yesterday, so I think for him, it's just continuing to stay in the training room and continue to strengthen, that injury and basically more of a preventative maintenance type thing as the season continues to go on. So, Johni was in practice yesterday and, plans on playing because, 2 tough road games this week, 2 more quad 1 opportunities this week. So Johni's going to want to be out there and give it a go.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, because you're very complimentary of the officials, almost like you're the unanimous #1 team in the country and you got nothing to complain about. And you had College Game Day there this week and you're #1 in the metrics. Recruiting, I assume, never really stops. Talk about the billboard that was Game Day, the AP poll every time it comes out. Are you guys flooding that to recruits, potential recruits, future recruits? How does that work during the season?
Yeah, I mean, we obviously have, 3 really talented young men locked in for next year. So 25 class is pretty much done. But then obviously having this exposure will be really good for our transfer portal class coming in because you look at our roster, you look at guys like Johni Broome, you look at Chad Baker-Mazara, Denver Jones, Chaney Johnson, Miles Kelly, Jaheim Hudson, JP Pegues, all transfers, all came in and are a part of the #1 team in the country. So that's obviously great fuel for, a really important transfer portal class with the amount of guys that we're losing. And then obviously the 26 class, is obviously getting bombarded with graphics and different things of, all the different things that we've had going on this year. So College Game Day coming to Auburn 5 straight years, no one else has done that in the country to date. So that's obviously something that we're very proud of. And it's something that, obviously really helps us in recruiting because it's something that kids all want to do and play in front of. And we recognize how fortunate we are and, are trying to enjoy every minute of it. But yeah, try and use it to the best of our ability to, continue to grow the brand and grow Auburn basketball and Auburn University.
It is Auburn at LSU, 6 o'clock, SEC Network tomorrow night. Best of luck in that game, Coach. As always, we appreciate the time.
Hey guys, I want to thank you for the onesie, the next round onesie for Lainey. She'll be rocking that this week at some point. So appreciate you guys very much.
That was all Taylor.
Yeah,
Little T put that together, and
that's awesome.
We were debating: is we get it there in time before she outgrows it? Is it too big for her right now? So we were wondering size wise, how does it? Because none of us are at that point in our lives where we got that size of a baby anymore.
She's the perfect size. I'll get Brittany to put her in it this week, and I'll shoot you guys a picture.
Fantastic.
Right, thank you.
Please do. Thank you, Coach.
Yeah, put Nelly in it too.
Yeah. Wrong size for
Perfect.
that. See you, Coach.
All right,
Thank
guys.
you.
War Eagle. Thanks.
That is Steve Pearl, the associate head coach of the Auburn Tigers, with us on the Johnston RV Center.com hotline.